All right, welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Huddle Podcast. My name is Anish.
And it's your boy Tammy.
Welcome back to your favorite fantasy football podcast with your favorite hosts. We're not doing well. I'm very sad to say that. But anyway, today we have a special guest who Tammy will introduce. But let's huddle up and get ready for the show. So for this episode, we're going to go over a quick league recap of the first week. Go over some matchups, and then we're going to go over the week one primetime matchups that we highlighted last week. We have 4 matchups to talk about, and then there's the return of Anish's stud list and Tammy's naughty list, and then we're going to transition on to a fun new segment called Real or Fake Name with our special guests, and then I'm going to finish up with the injury watch, waiver wire targets, and week 2 predictions. So Tammy, I'll hand the ball off to you. You want to introduce our special guest?
Yeah. It's a special day on the Fantasy Huddle Podcast. We have a special guest, our special friend that started playing fantasy football just because we needed a 10 person in the league. Doesn't know much about football, but don't let that deceive you. My guy has always been good, always a contender, always in the playoffs. He approaches fantasy football just from a numbers perspective, no biases, which might be the key to his success. But what this special guest is most notoriously known for is sparking and being the main inspiration for the New England Patriots this past week for their win against the Cincinnati Bengals. A story about hiking the Appalachian Trail and hiking in New Zealand for months really sparked a light in the Patriots players. Without further ado, I introduce our good friend Max from Portland. Side note, is not from Portland.
Oh my gosh, you guys. What a great introduction. I am so thrilled to be on the podcast. I'm a fan of the show. So happy to be on for season 2 here as the first guest. What an honor. Yeah, Tammy. My God, I didn't even know that I inspired the Patriots like that. Or that they played the Bengals. Or whomever you just said. Yeah, thrilled to be on the show.
Yeah, and if you want to give a quick backstory to that.
Yeah. For those of you listening and confused, I go to get my haircuts. My barber, he's like the unofficial but also official barber of the Patriots. And Max and Tammy both visited me in August, and they sat in on one of my haircuts. And my barber was really interested. He's a nice guy. He wanted to know more about Max, and he knew Tammy because Tammy already got a haircut with him. But to get to know Max, he asked him all about his past couple of years because he was an adventurous guy. And then he was so amazed by what Max told him that I just got a haircut with him this past week. That he told me that he spoke with numerous Patriots players, including some coaches, including Gerard Mayo, about Max's adventures. And saying one of my clients' best friends did this X, Y, and Z number of hikes, and they were all like, we could never do that. That's so cool.
Oh
that's so inspiring.
Wow,
Yeah,
this is
so that's back then.
I guess to all the Patriots fans listening, you're welcome. You know?
Yeah, they went on
regaling and he's just barber with tails from the trail without such a ripple out effect.
Yeah, it was fun to. Yeah, I don't know. The Patriots had one of the biggest upsets in years, week 1 upsets too. So
yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely destroyed a lot of people's survival pool, but It was good to see the Patriots win.
But anyways, Max, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. It's our honor to have you.
Yeah,
the pleasure is all mine. I've had an interesting relationship with fantasy football over the years, so I think I'm going to bring a unique perspective that I think some listeners might relate to. Sports aren't really my thing necessarily, but I love you two both, my dear friends, and I love being included in the group chat in a meaningful way. So
while having it muted,
despite myself. Every season.
Well, yeah. Once again, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our first segment. Let's talk about a recap of our first week of our fantasy league and some matchups to highlight. So just to go over some wins and losses, Max L beat Daniil by pretty handy amount.
Decisively,
Vinny beat
you
Tammy.
might say.
Decisively, yeah, exactly. Vinny beat Tammy. Max Blanche, our defending champion, beat Mike. Ori beat Lance. Sid beat me, and James lost by a narrow margin to Sawyer. But I do want to highlight. I want to call out while we have you, Max. You were the highest scorer of this past week.
Thank you.
And I was the lowest scorer. So
I was the second lowest.
Well, I'm glad I can
as I
balance
alluded
out
to,
your poor performances on this podcast this week.
I know. As I alluded to in the intro, that the hosts are not doing well.
No.
The curse of the podcast, it seems like.
Yeah. But anyways, though, Tammy, you want to kick it off? What are your immediate thoughts about this?
This week, just like, I guess speaking strictly just for my team, I was jokingly telling you how I hated my team last night, just because I don't know. I didn't feel inspired. I didn't feel like, oh, this is just a fluke. But I thought about it more. There were just some really off performances, like Mark Andrews. Derrick Henry didn't do that great. There were off performances. It's only week one, so like I'm not freaking out. I'm not the one to like freak out quickly and make drastic changes this early. So I still have confidence in my team to bounce back and eventually, be the team I thought I drafted. And I might have to make some moves on the waivers. The saddest part, honestly, for me this week is not losing. It's being the second lowest scorer, because now I don't get to pick that number one waiver wire pick, and I lost that finish by 1 point just because he has the lowest points. That was the saddest part for me.
Less than a point.
Yeah, by less than a point. So if anything, I didn't mind losing. It was just that number one waiver wire spot I wanted.
What about you, Max? What are your thoughts on your matchup?
I'm pretty pleased with how everything went. I'm always a little bit nervous going to the draft because I do not prepare necessarily. I lean heavily on the statistics that ESPN provides me, but it went well. I heard a lot of people talking about Saquon moving teams, so he was on my radar. Bam, first round pick, huge performance, 30 points. So feeling pretty good going into the rest of the season. But historically, I have a good start to the season and start to slip a bit once people start faking trades and reeling, dealing. So cautiously optimistic. They're gonna have to be on my trade game this year.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, you do start really hot, though. I do notice that.
Yeah.
But you do make some playoffs as well. So
Yeah.
You did beat me once in the playoffs. So
We all
But-
remember well.
just to add on a little bit about my matchup, I really underperformed there. All of my star players really underperformed, except Kyron. Kyron just hit his projections, but Amon-Ra did awful. Debo did pretty well, though. But my tight end, my flex, my RB2, just overall bad outing. So I have to improve. Tammy, do you want to touch on any other matchups, though, besides ours?
No. I want to give Max a little nod here to call out anyone from our league. Who do you want to call out, Max? I want to, talk that talk. Who do you want to call out in our league?
As you guys know, I'm a numbers guy. I go by the numbers. So the two people I want to call out, they're sitting right in front of me right now. Anish is going through a 2-year slump, and I think we all have a lot of sympathy. This is a very poorly timed podcast in a way. 3 dominant years, followed up with, I think, 12 straight losses last season. I think we're all hoping that he can course correct quickly. But it's a rough start. And I want to shout out Ori. Just off the bat here. Ori gets a lot of hate. He had a great game. He had a great week. All right. I'm noticing that people like to poke fun at people that don't really know anything about football. So me and Ori are often the butt of that joke. But, look who's laughing now.
Well, Ori is a little different because he acts like he knows some stuff, but he doesn't really know anything. We know you don't know. So like, it's not really good at far to making fun of you. But Ori is just bad. But this year is looking good. I gotta give him the credit. That's out to Ori.
Thanks for the shout out, Max.
Yeah.
Since the start of the last season, I've had 3 wins, and I didn't win a single regular season game after week 4 last year.
rough.
It's been tough, and I lost last week too. So oof.
You'll bounce back.
Fellas, any other things you want to chime in before we move on?
No, do you have anything? Oh yeah, I do actually have one thing. I can't let this escape. You mentioned James's matchup.
Yeah.
My guy James, I love you, but I have to go in on you a little bit here. My guy James, CMC. Unfortunately for James, CMC was out like 1 hour before the game. But in our league, we have an option to set someone to sub in. Yeah, you saw an auto sub in case someone is out. So we planned for that, and we all voted during the offseason to have that. James is aware of that feature. We also we not only that James is aware of that feature, we also all knew that CMC is questionable. So if me knowing I did that with Jamar Chase with the contracting, so I said auto sub just in case. So James never used that feature. Okay, that was like strike 1. Strike 2. Then on the day of his matchup, he was down 1 point. 1 point. James had the IR position open. So one of my friends was in the same boat. I was like, yo, put CMC in the IR, pick up Kaius check. He's going to score like a couple points. It's not going to be CMC numbers, but a couple points. James was only down 1 point. Like any day of the year, anytime, I will bet on Kaius check to score 1 point. But my guy, James, did not think of it. Come on, James. I know there's a lot going on right now, but James, come on, James.
Stop devoting so much energy to planning your wedding and focus up. Priorities.
Yes, come on. Fantasy is number 1. Nah, James is a really busy guy, so he probably didn't think of it in time. But yeah, James, come on.
Another thing, just to add quickly, that he could have done is he should have put the Monday night player CMC on his flex, and then he could have put that as IR and picked up the wide receiver that they had as well, Juwan Jennings, I think. So he had options.
He had options. He definitely had options. It just doesn't plan well, but it's okay. He's a busy
he lost
guy.
A single hit. The blame's on him.
Blame is on James.
All right, that sums up that segment. Let's move on to some week 1 games to talk over. So first, Thursday night, Baltimore faced Kansas City. Baltimore lost a close one. Isaiah Likely's toe just stepped right out of bounds. Otherwise, that would have tied it up and gone on to overtime. But anyways, though, a couple things we want to talk about here. Isaiah Likely, as I mentioned, had a big day. Tammy, as a Mark Andrews fan, how do you feel about Likely?
That was a rough game for me to watch, and which is another reason why I'm upset about not getting this number 1 waiver wire target, because if I got it, I'll just pick Isaiah Likely. Then I can, as the season progresses and play out, we'll see who has one. But honestly, from watching the game, I really like Likely just because from watching the game, he just showed that it could be used as more than just a tight end. It's not like a typical tight end. It's kind of like a wide receiver. The Ravens don't really have any big body wide receiver like that. When you have those end zone dunk, as you call them, that Mike Evans is notorious for, you don't really have anyone but Likely. So Likely gives that option and is very fast and very dynamic tight end. So I really like seeing him play. but I'm sad as a Mark Andrews owner just because then like he's gonna be taken away from Mark Andrews. But maybe not. Maybe be used more as a tight end wide receiver type. He's not taking too much away from Mark Andrews, but not a good start for Mark Andrews owners.
Yeah, it's a little concerning. I agree though, generally overall, and I'm very excited as the number one waiver pick to get likely. I'm getting likely. And then another player to highlight, the exciting rookie who broke the 40-yard dash at the combine, right? The record.
Wait. Before you say the name, before you say the name.
Yeah.
Max, can you guess the name of this rookie?
Can I guess the name of what position does he play?
He's a wide receiver.
Okay, on what team?
On the Chiefs.
Chiefs? Are they still called the Chiefs?
Yes. Yeah, they still call the Chiefs.
Jeez.
You're thinking
right.
of the Commanders.
Right. Oh, that's right. I'm gonna guess Johnny Smith.
So close. All right, keep going. Then you can say his name.
Emmanuel.
No, you only get one guess.
Yeah, his name is Xavier Worthy.
Oh, I have him.
Yeah, that's why we brought him up. He impressed in debut.
My
I think you left. I think
Worthy
you left him on the bench.
Worthy, right? My God, huge week for him.
Yeah, you left him on the bench, right?
No, you started him in his flex.
No.
Yeah, big contributor to Max's winning week.
Yeah.
So going into that week, though.
Unfortunately, I didn't see him play in person because I was suit shopping on Sunday.
Nice.
But very proud of him, and I feel good about myself for drafting him. So true.
Max, let me ask you this: since you're obviously you're doing much better than us, what made you start him at flex? What did you see in him?
Well, I saw that his projected score was higher than everyone else's on my bench.
Adds up.
Numbers man over here.
I'm a numbers man. If I detach emotionally, I don't know who's coming back from an injury. I don't know who has a compelling family story, like the guy that came back from that crazy disease the other day or the other year, and everyone was gentle and they were tackling him. Remember that? I don't know about that stuff. It's all about numbers.
You talking about Arm?
Damar Hamlin?
I think that's who he's talking about.
Yeah, it could be. So something told me that he would be worth it. I'll leave it at that.
Nice.
Good pun.
Nice.
But yeah, anyways, though, after seeing him play, he seemed like he's going to be a good contributor to that offense. That speedster is such a valuable play in that offense, especially for Mahomes' arm strength. Tyreek Hill role, maybe? Who knows? Question mark? Probably not, but
I think, yeah. On that, Hollywood Brown is who I thought was going to fill in that Tyreek role, but seeing Xavier, I'm like, well, maybe I drafted it. My other league, I drafted the wrong Chiefs. But the scariest part of this, from watching the game, is I think this is one of the most and the fastest weapons, plural, that Patrick Mahomes have had. Yes, he's had Tyreek Hill in the past, but now not only does he have Wally Rice, he has Hollywood Brown, he has Juju, he still has Miko Hardman. So a lot of options, which makes me question: is Travis Kelce gonna see a little downward trend? I'm not gonna stand on that yet. But a lot of weapons, I think, makes the Chiefs even scarier and more likely to fight for that third Super Bowl in a row.
That's a really good point you brought up. Kelce did go second round in our fantasy draft, so it'll be interesting to see if he holds up his value. I don't think so. I agree with you. There's too many mouths to feed.
A lot of mouths to feed.
Anything else before we move on to the next matchup?
Nope. That's it from me.
All right. Next one, Friday night in Brazil. We had Green Bay versus the Philadelphia Eagles. One thing to note, though, the field conditions seem to be a little off. A lot of players were complaining about that. A lot of slipping. That was interesting to watch. But coming in, we were excited to see the new running backs. One of the players, first round draft pick for Max, Saquon Barkley, against Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers. Saquon did really well. What are you guys' thoughts on Saquon?
It was great. Like hat-trick on the first game as Eagles. Welcome to the Bird Gang, Saquon. So happy to see him. He was by far the MVP of that game. Not just like from scoring aspect, but even when Jalen had that fumble towards the end of the game, he jumped right on the ball. He made some key plays. For me, he was the MVP of that game. And also, like, shout out to my boy Devontae Smith. Wasn't that flashy, but made some critical plays. As an Eagles fan, I was very happy to see the performance. It started off very rocky, very questionable. Looked like how they ended last season. It looked like they were going to bring that into the season, but they slowly got things together and show us why they are one of the top offense coming into the season. So I'm excited to see how they keep growing. And the only question is the defense. The defense, they allow a lot of points, but Green Bay is a very good offense. I just think Philly's defense needs to elevate a little bit more before they're fully like a Super Bowl contender. But I'm excited to see what I saw. I'm very happy to see.
Max, you excited about your first round pick?
I am very excited. And we all know what a pain in the ass it is to move. And I'm happy for Saquon coming out with a good performance. You know, I'm sure there were some first Eagles game jitters there. But this move seems to be bearing fruit.
Okay, Max, fun question for you. What city did Saquon move from? Or what city or team?
I know this. The Giants, blue uniform.
Nice.
Yeah,
the G-Man.
His show.
The G-Man. James. Shout out to James.
Yeah.
Giants fan.
Yeah.
See, I know some stuff, you guys. I'm listening.
You do.
I'm always listening. And some things get through.
Yeah, to speak on the other side, though, Josh Jacobs, I thought he played all right. He wasn't too explosive. He was just all right to me. Maybe it was just like the first game. He's still kind of like getting used to the Packers offense, but hopefully he picks things up. But I don't know. Kind of pessimistic right now. Jordan Love getting hurt. We can talk about that later, but I just wanted to quickly talk about Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think it was. Honestly, if I'm a Josh Jacobs, I'm not gonna be upset because he still put up like decent numbers for his first game on a new team without scoring. So like, how many points did he score? Like,
he had 13 fantasy points. I think.
13 fantasy points without a single touchdown, not a lot of receptions. Like,
yeah,
I won't be mad at that. It's a decent outing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 12. And one player to shout out, Jayden Reed, Packers wide receiver. He had an amazing day. We'll talk about him in the stud list, but did really well. He's who you predicted to be wide receiver 1, right? Coming in.
Yeah, I think so. I want to say yes. Maybe I can make it.
I think he did say yes.
Yeah, but going into the game, definitely was questioning who it was going to be, Watson, Reed, or Dobbs. But Reed, I think, showed us and established that week one. I hope it continues, but Dobbs did have the most targets on this week. He had 7, and Watson and Reed had 5 each. But we'll see how that evolves. Jayden Reed seems like a massive game playmaker for the Packers.
Absolutely. If you're a Jayden Reed owner, you'd be happy about that start, but I don't know. I guess we could talk about Jordan Love. He got hurt. I think, sprained his knee. Could be out for a few weeks. Also, talking about quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts started off a little slow too. Do you have any concern on Hurts and I guess Love too.
I think I'm more concerned about Ertz, not Ertz, Love, Love Ertz. But I'm more concerned about Love just because him being sidelined really, it seems he's not gonna win. Like, does not
Yeah.
position the Packers to win as much games as we hope they would. For Jalen, I'm not too concerned because even on a rough day, he put up 16 fantasy points. So I'm not mad about that. Saquon is gonna get those like touchdowns, so those rushing touchdowns and those rushing yards. I think from watching the game, I think Jalen was a little bit more cautious in terms of like rush attempts, just because of the poor conditions of the field, and it's too early in the season, so it felt more like that. But I see have high expectations for him for fantasy for sure and real life.
Yeah. You got him in the third round. So
Yeah.
All right. Any more thoughts in this matchup, you guys?
I think we've spent a good amount of time on it.
All right, let's move on to Sunday night. Rams versus Detroit. This honestly a little underwhelming game, I thought, at least. I thought it was going to be offensive shootout. Rams their offense was pretty good. We could start there. The return of prime Cooper Kupp level of play. Cooper Kupp is back. 21 targets, baby. If you're a Kupp owner, I think you are sitting back happy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Puka went down, so which automatically benefits Kupp. I think if either of those guys go down, then one is gonna do well. So I'm not surprised by Cooper Kupp. Like, I've never lost faith in him. He's just such a good football player that to count him out yet. And I think I mentioned that last episode. So if you're a Kupp owner, you should be happy. You should be happy right now.
Yeah. And another person to talk about and shout out, Jameson Williams. He was a former top 10 pick, I think, from Alabama, but he did amazing this game. Over 100 yards, or at least close to 100 yards catch overall, and one touchdown, one big play. Are you confident starting him as like a fantasy starter moving forward, or is this like a fluke?
In my opinion, if you own him, I think unless you have like someone definitely like must start, I think Jamo is a must start flex option. Like, I have him in one of my leagues and I'll comfortably start him. Just looking at Detroit, that is the deep threat option. Like, is the main or only deep threat option. Amon-Ra is good, obviously, great wide receiver. But just because that offense is so good and Jared Goff is still is a great passer, I think Jameson Williams is gonna get his points. He's gonna get those deep touchdowns. He's fast. He's young, so he showed us flashes of it. And Detroit is not very deep on the wide receiver position, so I'll comfortably put him in my lineup. And even if he doesn't do well, I can stand on that.
Yeah, I actually think he could be a wide receiver 2 level player. You could start moving forward. I feel like it may not be what the Dolphins have with Hill and Jalen Waddle, but I think Jameson Williams compares well as a player to Jalen Waddle. Fast, kind of like a deep threat option. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is also a deep threat option, but Amon-Ra is like the short passes, the PPR machine. So I don't know. I think this offense could sustain Jameson.
Yeah, Detroit did well. They did well. Despite I picked against them last week, but they found a way to win it. It was close. It was a close game.
One thing to harp on: the Sun God, he did pretty bad. He was my first round pick, and he got me 4 points, so that was kind of unfortunate. But I'm not too worried about him at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either.
What about you? Are you worried, Max? About Amon-Ra?
For the God of the Sun. No.
All right, Max. Another quiz. Max, can you name one fantasy football player that was not mentioned on this in this discussion on either team?
So
On
Rams
anyone's
and
team?
Detroit.
Oh, Rams or Detroit?
Oh, that's too hard.
Okay.
I can probably name some in general.
Okay.
Let me. Okay, hold on. I'll give it. I'll give it.
Not too long though.
Let me see if you have
I
any
don't
on
know,
your team,
guys.
actually.
There's
It's okay.
someone
I don't
that
think you have
had
any on your
last
team,
year.
so it doesn't really count. Yeah, you don't have any of their
Think
players.
about.
It's okay. You get a pass. You get a pass.
No one?
I'll do Rams defense.
There you go.
There
Nice.
All right, yeah. That counts. That counts. And finally, let's move on to Monday. Yesterday, the New York Jets took on the 49ers. So the big news everyone's talking about, CMC, number one pick from this year for fantasy, was ruled out just hours before the game, which is arguably not allowed in NFL rules because they didn't report that. They didn't report that he was having this much. I don't know. But anyways, Jordan Mason impressed big time. Do you think he's an RB1 moving forward? Do you think CMC, if he comes back, Jordan Mason's still startable? Do you think it's a 50-50 split? I don't know. He played well against the tough Jets defense.
It's not no 50-50 split. No one in their right mind would think that. Like, it's CMC. Come on, guys. Like, if CMC is LT, no one, it's not 50. We'll be lucky if it's 80-20. Like, that's not even a question. But I think, yeah, very unfortunate CMC did not play that game. A lot of people were sad by that. And Mason apparently mentioned how he knew he was going to start earlier. There's some questionable stuff in terms of reporting CMC injury, but it seems like NFL is not investigating that. So, anyways, that's not fantasy related. Jordan Mason, though, is a good stash for sure. Most especially with CMC starting the year off injured, and we all know how injury prone he is, and a lot of people pick Jordan Mason up late.
The reason why I say it could be a split is he's entering his 28th year. He's going to turn 29 in June. He's on a $65 million contract, the highest overall for running back. And
Is that for
obviously you want him.
year? $65 million for.
No, it's over
1
4
year?
years. Sorry, did I say 1 year? I meant to say 4 years.
I
4
was
years,
just wondering.
65. And if it was reported that he has Achilles tendonitis. I feel like if you give him a bell cow role, you're just going to aggravate it potentially, put him at more risk. Why not just give someone who's also pretty talented, Jordan Mason, reps as well?
I think after the year CMC had, like, which was like maybe 9 months ago, like, it's hard for anyone to say, sit on the bench unless the game is like blown out, like yesterday's game.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't need him. There'll be games like that the 49ers are comfortable. But if in situations where the game is close, I don't think you can say CMC, okay, sit down. Like, you can't. I can't. So just because I can't predict the nature of how games will go, like a lot of times in the NFL, I don't think I can let that impact like me starting Jordan Mason.
I don't necessarily say sit down.
Not CMC, but start Jordan Mason. I can't comfortably think he's going to get enough carries to be able to be that
That's
impact.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, keep an eye on Mason if you're a Mason owner. But you have to consider starting him if CMC's hurt.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, Brandon Ayuk struggled big time. I called this as my bust last week. And any quick thoughts there, though?
Yeah, I think it's the rust of holding out in the NFL.
Definitely.
I'm not too worried about Ayuk. I think he'll bounce back soon. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, Max, I don't know if you're familiar, but Brandon Ayuk, he held out the preseason, didn't practice much because he wanted a new contract. He was kind of like a little protesting.
How much is his contract?
I think 4 years, 140 or something like that.
Did it work out for him?
Yeah, he got an extension. What is it? 4 years, 120. So $30 million per year.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because CMC is obviously a better offensive player than Ayuk. but you get a bigger contract just because running backs are undervalued in the NFL a little bit. So that's the unfortunate part of that position.
And he's
This
a
is
receiver.
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, he's a receiver.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver.
But it's a physical sport, so he needs game reps, like reps in the preseason before jumping into the regular season. So he missed out on all that. And do you think he can continue? He will continue the struggles, or he'll eventually go back to his old dominant ways? How long would it take, either of you?
I was
I mean,
really
I'm sure he was
back.
doing something. I'm sure he wasn't just like sitting on the couch during preseason. I'm
No,
sure,
yeah,
like, it's guy you can toss the ball around with.
That I would say that's different than getting like hit by someone and like dealing with the physicality of cornerbacks. Like they're like touching you, they're like hitting you. You have to like literally like fight them to like get open sometimes.
Yeah, I think by week 3, he'll be back to scoring like 15 fantasy points and doing decent. He's gonna have some big games, but I'm not. Also, I don't know. One thing that I noticed about this game though was the connection between George Kittle and Brock Purdy was a little off. Like there were a couple like passes that were just off a little bit. They were right there, but like not quite there. So that was interesting. That's another off-season rust for the 49ers. But the 49ers are off to a great start. Definitely contenders.
For sure. And then quickly touching about the Jets. Start off hot, then pretty much at mediocre at best the entire game. They got kind of held in check.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers he was injured for a year. It's kind of expected. I think they will figure things out. They're still learning about each other. They signed Rodgers last year, but didn't get to play at all. So I think it's just still learning, and I'm not too concerned. I think they will figure things out.
All right, that concludes our week 1 recap of the games. Let's move on to our respective stud and naughty lists. So first off, my stud list, I'm going to shout out 3 players. Saquon Barkley, number 1. He had 24 carries, 109 yards. Yeah, Max's guy right there.
My boy. For my beautiful boy.
Two rushing touchdowns, and then he had 2 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Overall, 33.2 PPR points. Jayden Reed, we also talked about him. 4 receptions, 6 targets, 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 33.1 points. I think he also had some rushing yards that I forget how much he had. And then Cooper Kupp, I want to highlight this. 21 targets, 21, and 14 catches. That's a lot. 110 yards, 1 touchdown, 32 points. So out of these 3 players, Tammy, I'll ask you this: who do you think will repeat this? And then I'll answer as well.
I think as long as Puka Nacua is out, Kupp is going to keep getting so many targets that I expect him on this list for the next 4 weeks because it's insane and he's really good. So he can shake off cornerbacks and he's a slot receiver. He can
absolutely
make it. So it's without a question for me, Kupp. Not that the others are not good. Jayden Reed, obviously Jordan Love went down, so that might decrease. Saquon, very good, but a lot of options in Philly. So some guys going to have bigger weeks than the others, so that might move around a little bit. So by that, Cooper Kupp, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Kupp could be the fantasy superstar, fantasy wide receiver 1. I'm jealous.
Yeah, same.
One guy before we just move on though.
Kupp in our league?
Mike.
Well done, Mike.
Third. Yeah, I wanted him in the 3rd round,
and he has Jordan Mason too. The way things are shaping out, Mike, he lost this past week, but the way things are looking right now, all the injuries have kind of benefited Mike. And this was kind of the same last season too. He had people that were injured, and he just had the handicap fantasy players, and that turned out well for him. So kudos to Mike.
Kudos. Yeah, but one quick thing before we move on to your naughty list, I want to shout out Chris Boswell, Lance's kicker. He had 26 points. He's the highest scoring, or tied for the highest scoring kicker with Jake Moody. But
Yeah.
good job, Lance. All's well that
Oh,
ends Boswell.
facts. That Lance loves Boswell. That's like I think Lance is his number one fan. Always picks him every year, even if it's
Absolutely.
not on the team. He will stash him just on his bench out of the loyalty. So we all know undrafted don't touch Boswell. That's Lance's guy.
Exactly.
Is he from
Right.
Canton or something?
No, I don't
He
think
just
so.
likes
I don't
the
even
name.
know.
Lance's
Yeah.
hometown.
No, I think Lance just likes his name, and maybe he had him 1 year of fantasy and really liked him and just stuck to him. Lance is
Yeah.
he's a loyal guy. He sticks to what he knows.
Yeah, shout out Lance for loyalty.
Loyal guy.
All right. Moving on to the opposite end of the spectrum here. You have Tammy's naughty list. I'm gonna shout out. Well, not shout out, but name 3 guys that had lackluster week. First, I'm gonna start with the Sun God. It was a cloudy day in Detroit, so the Sun God did not get to shine. Amon-Ra St. Brown struggled a little bit. Maybe week 1 rust. Only had caught three passes out of 6 targets at 13 total yards. Only scored 4.3 fantasy points, and led to Anish losing his matchup. I wish the Sun got at 5.3 points. Then I would have the number 1 with a higher target. but unfortunately, it didn't for me. But anyways, next on the list is a rookie, so we're not going to be too hard on him, just because first game in the NFL can be difficult. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 1 reception for out of 3 targets with just 4 yards. He didn't really get a lot of targets here to blame him. I think maybe he's a bust. If I'm a Marvin Harrison owner, I won't panic just yet. I think it's just first game. The Arizona Cardinals are still figuring out their offense. I expect him to move up, to trend up in the upcoming weeks. And finally, I think to me this is the most concerning player on this list is Chris Olave. And Chris Olave had 2. He caught 2 of his 2 targets. Only had 11 yards, so only scored 3.1 points. The reason I said it's the most concerning is because the New Orleans Saints had an amazing game, like high scoring game, and Olave only got 2 targets. Like what? The math is not matching. I beg.
Yeah.
Like the math is not matching here. And if I own Olave in any of my leagues, I won't panic yet, but I'll be like a little bit like the meme, like or that future meme where like I'm scratching my head a little bit, like this is awkward. So I hope Olave bounces back, but from week 1, when how many points did the Saints put up? Like 40 something points.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, and he only had this level of performance. That was honorable mention though to Drake London. Drake London had an awful game, but I'm not gonna. I think Kirk Cousins is to blame partially for that, shaking off some rust there also. But I picked Olave over London for the naughty list just because of such a high scoring game, and Olave had such a down performance. So, Anish, who do you think is coming back on the naughty list?
I would think it's Chris Olave as well. It was very concerning. Out of these 3 players, it has to be Chris Olave. I don't think it's Amon-Ra. I drafted Amon-Ra because I thought his floor would be like the safest floor out of the middle of the first round wide receivers, and he got the lowest floor possible. Ironic. Marvin Harrison, he drafted highly as a wide receiver for that offense, so I think that offense is just going to pick it up. He's going to improve. But Olave is a little concerning. His quarterback situation, Derek Carr, still a little uncertain, even though he did play really well. And you would think he's the best option on the field, but he just didn't get any targets, as you mentioned. Targets is concerning, so I would say Olave.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think it would be better to at least being
could definitely
like that, maybe top 10, like bottom 10, like 10, 11, 12
Yeah.
fantasy wide receiver, averaging like 15, 16 points. But anyways, that's it for my naughty list. I agree, Anish. I think Olave might be back next week, but I hope he doesn't for the sake of the fantasy owners. Moving on to our next segment, Max. This is your segment. So this
My
is
time to shine.
It's your time to shine, my guy. So it's real or fake names, and the way the rules of this segment is, Anish and I are gonna go back and forth naming NFL players, past or present NFL players.
Past or present.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately for Max, so these are not necessarily fantasy related players. They could be outside of fantasy football, but people that have watched NFL would be able to tell you which ones are real because these names are particularly unique names.
Okay.
You probably have heard some of them just from being around and watching us like on Sundays in college and watching the games with us.
Every Sunday. Not every day. Every weekend football.
Yeah. So you probably heard some of this name before.
All my friends loves football. Yeah, well, I have a sneaking suspicion that Tammy has used ChatGPT to generate all the fake names. So I'll be keeping an eye out for variations of existing names that I might know. If there's another Egyptian god in the mix, that'd be a dead giveaway.
Maybe there's Medusa in the mix. Well, unfortunately for you, I did not make this list. And Nish barely made this list, so you could not predict anything about it. All right, I'm going to start with the first name. Ready, Max?
Okay.
All right. It's Clinton Dix.
Fake. Fake name.
The joke's on you. Real name.
What was the last name?
Clinton Dix was Clinton Dix. Like D-I-X.
You're fucking kidding me. This is impossible.
Yeah, he played for 7 seasons in the league, primarily with Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Okay. Oh, wow. Bad start to me. Okay.
Yo, 0 for 1. 0 for 1.
All right.
All right, Anish.
Now, let me throw this name at you, okay?
Yeah, hit me.
Ziggy Whitelock.
Ziggy Whitelock? Real. God damn it. Ziggy Whitelock. It sounds too much like Ziggy Stardust. I should have known.
All right.
All right.
0 for 2. 0 for 2.
5, right? 3 out of 5?
No, it's 8. You get 8 names, so you can still get above 500. Yeah. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Next name on the list: Taco Charlton.
What's taco spelled?
Taco, like taco, like taco.
Fake. God, are you kidding me? Oh my god.
Real name.
I am so confident in myself, guys. Thought I was going to be batting 100.
He's been a career journeyman. He played 8 teams in total. Played with 8 teams in total. Drafted in 2017. Defensive
30
player.
man is like going back and forth.
Yeah, he just goes signs
regular Saquon.
No, Saquon's not a journeyman.
No. Saquon is only in the second team.
All right. Moving on to the 4th guy. Jaquiski Tart.
Fake.
And he's real. He's a safety drafted by the 49ers in the 2nd round of the 2015 NFL draft. He only played a few seasons in the league.
Jaquiski. I'm so sorry, Jaquiski. You have a perfectly beautiful name. If he's listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's definitely listening. Of course. All
right.
Okay.
0 for 4. All right, come on. You can get 500 here.
I can get
Ready?
one of these. I can get one. Yeah.
All right. Ace McCloud.
One more time.
Ace McCloud.
Ace McCloud. Sounds plausible.
What's your answer?
Fake.
Yes! Finally!
Oh, thank you for not including a jeering sound effect for all my wrong answers. I appreciate the applause.
Nice, good
You're
job.
1 for 5
4.
now. We have 3
Yeah, 1 for
3 more
5.
players.
Yeah.
3 more players, okay?
1 for 5. Okay, let's tie this thing up.
Rico Flanagan.
Rico Flanagan is a fake name.
Ooh.
I knew it.
That is right.
Nice. He's coming back. He's coming back.
2 for 6. He's
Yeah.
batting 1/3. 3.
All right, ready?
3%.
Next name. Rico Daldo.
Real name.
Nice.
It's a real name.
I'm not.
Wow.
You're on
Whoa,
3.
this is taking me back to like SAT days, you know, like you're like trying to figure out the multiple choice. 2 Ricos? You guys are
2
tricky.
Ricos back to back.
You guys
All
are
right,
tricky.
3 for 7. Last name. See if you can get to 500 here.
Yeah.
Dexter Highsmith.
Dexter Highsmith. That's a cool name. Dexter Highsmith. I do think that that's a name that you may have come up with. Highsmith? That's
What's
fake.
your
It's
answer?
Fake.
Nice.
Good job. Came back swinging.
Oh my god.
Good job.
4 in a
Deluxe
row. That was actually really
performance.
impressive.
Rough start. You
Rough
know,
start.
Even as you have told me, Anish, even the greats have off days. And I had an off
Exactly.
start to that quiz.
Yeah.
You finished really well.
Yeah.
Strong.
Finished strong. Pick myself back up.
All right. Enough fun. Back to football.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't have
All right.
another whimsical game for me to play before we get back to the nuts and bolts?
All right.
No, let's
But
get back
this-
to it. Let's get serious, guys. The people want
Yeah.
analytical
for the next
content.
Next segment here, it's our waiver wire targets for week 1. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to say who you are targeting or who people should target on the waiver wire. So Anish, you're gonna kick it off. Then I'll punch it to Max to give us who he's targeting.
Oh, so Max
Passes
is
to
starting?
me.
No, Anish. Sorry, Anish. You start.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I'll let Anish.
Please,
then
go
I'll let
ahead,
Max
Anish.
go.
Well, I'm gonna go with probably the most obvious choice, Isaiah Likely, because Tammy, but the Ravens, I think, they've played the most 2 tight end setup formations in the Chiefs game. Obviously, it's only been 1 game, but I really think Likely, as you mentioned, Tammy, could play a big role on this team, and he doesn't necessarily have to play tight end. He can just be a big wide receiver on that team. He would be the biggest wide receiver or the second biggest pass catcher after Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews still may be a little rusty after that big car accident that he had. So he could definitely be a flex to potentially starter option if you want to start him at flex as well with the tight end if you have the league tight end. But I think Likely is the best option here.
Yeah, I agree. And also seeing the way they used him in the postseason last year, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So that I really kick myself every time to think like I thought about it last year. I was like, it's gonna be a good option. I should start it next side. Then I forgot by the time I was drafting. So, but good choice, Max. You targeting anyone?
Cards on the table, guys. Didn't know the waiver was coming up. I don't understand how to do it in the app yet. The waiver is elusive to me. I think I have an empty slot in my roster. I think I could just pick someone up right. Should I pick up Likely right now if I wanted to?
No, he's on the waivers.
So only the good guys are on the waivers, like the shit players I can pick up. Not shit, but bad for fantasy. If anyone's listening.
So, are you familiar with the waiver priority system?
Yeah, I think yeah. Like it rotates through. It doesn't matter. Bottom line, I don't know who I'll be targeting, but if Anish forgets to pick Barkley, I guess I'll do that.
He's not gonna make it to you. I think a few people. So because you're the highest scorer, you're actually last waiver priority.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't need it. Clearly.
There you go. There you go. But as for waiver wire target for me, I was thinking between two guys, but I think I'm gonna go with this one guy. It's Demarcus Robinson for the Rams. The Rams wide receiver, since Puka went down, and just watching the game, it seems like Matt Stafford really likes Robinson. So he got one end zone target. Then I think either he didn't bring it down or there was like some sort of flag or something. But I think he had 7 targets, still scored 10 points. I think is a good waiver pickup for a flex position for now. And even maybe when Puka gets back, it might be that wide receiver 3 on the Rams. The Rams have a pretty good quarterback, like good passing quarterback. And so all the receivers are going to get a good amount of targets. So I think Demarcus Robinson is a nice stash for a flex position.
That's a good one.
All right, enough with the waiver wire targets. Just moving on to the next section here, our injury watch. Just briefly, we already mentioned some of these players. First, we have Jordan Love that has a knee injury, so a lot of people that have him as their starting quarterback will be looking on the waivers for a replacement. I think there's some good options on the waivers to replace Jordan Love temporarily. Then next, also a knee injury, we have Puka Nakua. Unfortunately, got injured during the game on Sunday night, and it was carted. Well, was carted off. This wasn't carted, but it got on the what's it called? What do you call it? The cart.
The cart.
The golf cart, and he was driven off this field. It seems like it's been placed on IR by the Rams, so he'll be back soon. And finally, the biggest injury, the number 1 overall fantasy pick, calf injury. Seems like he might be out for one more game or so. So we might have to wait on seeing CMC's season debut. But if you don't, if people at least might have some heads up now to make sure not to start him and put in a second option. Well, that's just a brief recap of the injuries. All right, moving on to our last section here on the show, which is our weekly prediction. Just for those that might have missed it last week, we've kind of mixed this segment up a little bit in which Anish and I will be punished for our bad takes. So whoever gets picks incorrectly, like the boom or bust, will be punished with a bean boozled. I think that's what it's called. So Anish and I got this jelly beans thing game that has some good tasting candies and bad tasting candies.
Really bad.
Yeah, really, really bad. Like, for example, some of this tastes like stink bug, barf, dead fish. So we randomly spin the wheel and pick one if we give any bad takes.
Yeah.
So look forward to seeing our reaction to eating some of this. I'm not looking forward to eating this candy if it's bad, but I think it make good entertainment if people get to see that. So with that being said, just a recap of last week's for the boom prediction. Anish and I had Anish predicted AJ Brown to be the boom prediction. He predicted AJ Brown to score 31 points. AJ Brown did not score 31 points, but he had a very good showing. He scored 22.9 points. So that was good. I think that's like meeting his projection, maybe a little bit over his projection. I picked James Cook, and I predicted he was going to score about 24 points, but he didn't boom either, but scored 13.3 points, which was 1 point above his projection. So for the boom predictions, Anish and I kind of escaped the bamboozle this week, in which our takes were they didn't fully boom, but they weren't below their projections to punish us. The rule is if your boom prediction scores way less than their projection, then like maybe 50% less than production, then we might you get bamboozled.
You spin the wheel.
Yeah, you spin the wheel to be bamboozled. So we escaped this week. And for the boss prediction from last week, Anish predicted Brandon Ayuk, and that pick was dead on. He was a boss. He scored only 4.8 fantasy points. Rough week for Ayuk, but Anish was
Good
right.
job, Anish.
And I predicted CD Lamb. CD Lamb also, according to his eye standard, had a bust week because he only scored 13.8 points, even though he was projected for at least 17 points. So CD did not, it wasn't terrible showing, but it was still below expectations. So we got lucky on that one too. Maybe you guys will have to wait till next week for us to spin the wheel. I'm going bold next week, so for the next week prediction. So at least maybe one of us will.
You're saying you're going bold?
I'm going a little bold. maybe it's not too bold, but we will see based on this week. But with that being said, let's start with our boom prediction. Anish, who you got booming this week?
My boom prediction this week is a player on my team, but I think overall he's going to do really well. Jayden Daniels. He is playing the New York Football Giants. We all know the Giants are bad. I think officially cursed them. But anyways, Giants got pretty much smoked by Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield played amazing. He played really well. He had I think 3 passing touchdowns and over 300 yards. But anyways, Jayden Daniels, I think he's going to feast on the Giants defense. They're not that good. Oh, sorry. Giants played the Vikings. I don't know what I'm thinking. Giants played the Vikings. Sam Darnold picked them apart. Oh, wait.
No, Giants are not playing the Vikings. Vikings are playing 49ers.
No, who did the Giants play week 1?
Oh, week 1. Oh, yeah, they played the Vikings. Sorry, I thought you were talking about upcoming week.
Yeah. So I don't know why I said Baker Mayfield. Vikings played the Giants. Sam Darnold torched them essentially. He played really well. He didn't have an incomplete pass until the second half. And Jayden Daniels is my boom pick. I think he's going for 31 points again.
I think bold. Yeah. Okay. For my boom pick, this is where I think I'm going bold. I'm picking someone from the Naughty list. And I'm thinking Marvin Harrison Jr. to boom. He's currently only projected 13 points. So maybe it's bold, but kind of safe. Who knows? But he only scored 1.4 points last week, and he's going against the Rams. I think that he's going to get significantly more targets because it was kind of underwhelming to see. So they will try. Kyler Murray is going to try to feed him a lot more. Yeah. So I expect him to score 17 points at least. That's my prediction.
Tammy,
a little bold. I know.
You want those nasty beans.
I want these nasty beans. You're right. You're right, my friend. And all right, moving on to the boss prediction.
I think I want to do my boom. I think that I personally am going to boom me. Another week above 150 points. You can come up with your own punishment or reward for me. Yeah, you gotta back yourself, and I'm backing Max.
Okay, do you have any player on your team? Who do you think is going to carry you to 150 points victory? Who on your team is going to be the highest scorer?
I mean, honestly, I think it'll be Saquon again, unless he's not playing next week. And when that happens, I'm away a bit. Saquon will take me there.
All right.
As long as Ingram doesn't put up another 1 point game, whatever, I should be doing good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the opposite side, we have the bust of this week. Anish, who you got?
All right. I had a couple of different options here, but if you're going bold, then maybe I should just go bold as well. I'm going to go... my original answer was going to be Zamir White, but I don't actually think he qualifies for this conversation. Does he qualify?
I don't think so. I think it might just be out.
Yeah. So yeah, like we had a like little qualification being like a top like 30, 40 player. So I'm actually gonna go with this is sorry, Tammy, but Jamar Chase. So they are
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. They are facing Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. And right now the Bengals are struggling big time. Kansas City has a good defense. They have a really good defense. They have a good pass rush. Bengals don't have a good O-line. The Patriots defensive line, they rush Burrow nonstop. I don't think Burrow's going to have time against Kansas City. I think Chris Jones is going to tear apart that O line. Overall, it's going to be a negative game script. Obviously, he might. I think he's going to finish exactly at his projection. I think maybe 10 points. I think that's a bust for him.
Yes, that would be a best. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a bold take considering maybe it's just me. I'll never forget this because there was one year I was in a fantasy playoff final against Mike, and he had Jamar Chase against the Chiefs. Obviously, this was like 2021, so different defense, no more Tyron Matthews, but Jamar Chase cooked that secondary. Obviously, again, different team. So I still have nightmares of that 55 points fantasy point game to bet Jamar Chase against the Chiefs. I think the Bengals struggled, but I think it was just like, rust from the preseason and early on, and Jamar Chase also there was no T. Higgins. Jamar Chase was sitting out, barely practiced.
Yeah, like I said, just make it.
No, you're bold though, bold. No, I know, absolutely very bold. So, wow, someone is gonna have to try these beans, these jelly beans next week. Well, mine now you're making me question if mine was bold enough. Yeah, but my boss prediction is Stephon Diggs, and
That's a good one.
I don't want to be a Steph. I'm not a Stephon Diggs hater. I think he's a great wide receiver, but just because I think his high performance last year was just because he scored so much. But next week he's going against the Chicago defense. They're pretty good defense. I think they clamped the Titans like passing game this past week. So on that note, and also the Texans having a lot of other weapons, I think Stephon Diggs is going to score below his projected points here. And it's not going to be like week one where you score 22 points. So kind of, but not really. We'll see how it play out. I'm going with Stephon Diggs as my boss. Max, anyone you think is not going to do so hot? Or maybe not, doesn't have to be a specific player. You can go with one of the teams in our league that you don't think is going to be so good next week. Any thoughts?
I'm going to try to keep it positive. I think I've talked enough snack. I think if James can manage to like set his lineup for next week, he should be good. But who knows? I mean, I am a numbers guy, so it could be Ingram again.
Guess his first name. I'm very eager to guess his first name.
What does E stand for?
What does E stand for?
What is he? What is this? Destiny Street, guys?
Drum roll.
Ethan.
Evan.
It's
Evan. Oh, I think I knew that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably heard it. It's probably in the back of your mind.
That's why I said Ethan, because it sounds similar.
Yeah.
I think next week we're gonna have. But Tammy, I think next week we're gonna have our first Bean Boozled. Actually, I don't feel super confident about Jamar Chase. Actually,
it's too late.
It's too late.
It's on the pod now. All right, Max. I think that wraps our show. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you, Max, for joining us.
You guys were a good sport with my sort of general lack of football knowledge, but I do have a lot of friendship knowledge, and we've been doing this league for like 7 years or something crazy. And yeah, delighted to be on the pod. Hey, everyone else is listening in the league. Love you guys. Hope you'll do better next week.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words, Max. It's always a pleasure. And even though you don't need to know a lot about football, this is a very fun episode. And I can speak and say like this. I was very entertained throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming in the time to join us.
Oh, of course, of course. The pleasure was mine.
Anish, any closing thoughts? Any special thanks to Max you like to share? Last
Yeah,
words?
Max, thank you for indulging us in this. We'll probably have you on next season again. Or I don't know if you want to come back on this season again, but we really appreciate it. Thank you for spending the hour with us. And I do have a little I have little statistical nuggets that I wanted to share. I have two I wanted to share quickly, just two. Just every episode I wanted to come up with some stats that I wanted to share. So Daniel Jones says since signing his 4-year, $160 million contract with the Giants before last season, he's thrown more touchdown passes to the opposition, pick sixes, than to his own team. He's thrown 3 pick sixes to 2 TD to 2 passing touchdown passes. So that's for the first stat. Second stat, I think is also really crazy. Garrett Wilson's been in the league for 2 years. This is his 3rd year now. Since coming into the league, he has 178 receptions with 7 different quarterbacks.
7?
Yep.
What is 7?
Yeah, Jets had 7 different quarterbacks. They've
rotated.
Yes.
Wow.
It doesn't. They could be there for a couple snaps. He's caught from 7 different quarterbacks.
Wow, that is crazy. Good nuggets.
Yeah.
Anish's nuggets right there at the end of the show. Wow, very mind blowing stats right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck. Poor Dan Jones. Jesus.
Daniel Jones. D Jones. Yeah, they should have paid Saquon, but too late now. I'm glad they didn't. On that note, we're going to wrap up the show. To our listeners, thank you for listening. And last week I mentioned that, we have Facebook. We do not have Facebook, but when you still know how to reach us, you can reach us on Instagram, Twitter or X. What's it called? What's that other Instagram? New Instagram? Threads. There you go. You can reach us on Threads. And the quickest way, you can reach us via email at thefantasyhuddlepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening. Peace.